Canadian government officials today are updating the number of missing Canadians in Israel from 3 to 4, with very little information available about their well-being or whereabouts. I spoke with former Justice Minister Irwin Cotler, who is also the federal government's special envoy on combating anti-Semitism, about the people who have been taken hostage by Hamas, young and old, many from many different walks of life. Pardon me. I asked him what the scope of that tells him. Have a listen.
It just shows you the extent of the horror. As President Biden put it, this was pure evil. Hamas is not just a terrorist organization, though that would be bad enough. It's a murderous, hateful, anti-Semitic, genocidal organization. These are not words I use lightly, but Hamas proclaims it itself. It has openly and publicly and consistently called for the destruction of Israel and the killing of Jews wherever they may be. They're not so much an organization that seeks Palestinian rights. If they did, they would in fact be protecting the Palestinians in Gaza rather than repressing them, but it seeks the destruction of Israel. So it's an organization that is anti-peace, anti-Israel, anti-Palestinian rights. And it is unfortunately part of an axis of evil with the Iranian regime, which arms, which trains, which finances Hamas, which is also joined together as part of this axis of evil with Hezbollah in the north, Palestinian Jihad in the south, Hamas cells in the east, all of whom are surrounding Israel with what the Iranian regime has called the strategy of a ring of fire. And all this led to this massive act of aggression, this three-pronged assault from land, sea, and air, which as we speak has resulted in over 1,300 dead, over 3,000 wounded, some 130 taken hostages. And if we understand that behind each of these statistics are human beings, are suffering, families are mourning and grieving, individuals, young and old, then we can understand the depth of the tragedy, why I've referred to it, to the October 7th, Saturday, October 7th, as Israel's 9/11, as multiple 9/11s.
You spoke a little bit there about the regional implications, and I wonder how concerned you are about the possibility of this already brutal war opening up on multiple fronts.
Well, I'm hoping it doesn't open up on multiple fronts. The problem is that it's hard to know what Iran has in mind. I think one of the reasons why Israel is retaliating as it is to try to send a message to Hezbollah in the north and to Iran and to Palestinian Jihad in the south, don't intervene, because while we were shocked by what happened and while we came under assault for what happened, and while we have been divided through the judicial overhaul, that we've all come together, right and left, religious and secular, Sephardic and Mizrahi. In other words, that the Israeli community has come together. And if Iran thought it could expose and thereby leverage the splits in Israeli society, and that this was the time to attack and incentivize Hamas to do so, I think the Israeli response may seek to send a lesson: don't intervene, because in the end, we all lose. And I'm hoping that it will not spread, and I'm hoping that this could put maybe an end to Hamas as a terrorist organization, and we could begin a proper road towards peace and what is spoken of, but now always seems further than ever before, a proper two-state solution.
I fully recognize that that retaliation was instigated by Hamas. I also know, as a former Justice Minister, you're fully aware of international law, the fact that Hamas contravened it very, very widely in scope. But there are other aid organizations, for example, in Gaza, concerned about Israel breaching international law. And in particular, in layman's terms, what I mean by that is the impact on civilians in Gaza. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Cotler?
Well, I think, what you began by saying, and I referenced earlier, President Biden as a reference to what has happened here is pure evil. It also has run the full gamut of war crimes, crimes against humanity. Not only is the evil beyond vocabulary, but the international criminality of Hamas is almost beyond international legal vocabulary. You not only had the ultimate crime, the crime of aggression, which is referred to as the mother of all crimes in its invasion of Israel, but it's been attended by horrific war crimes and crimes against humanity. We may not realize that there have also been 5,000 rockets targeting Israel and Israeli civilians. That alone is a crime against humanity. And regrettably, Hamas uses its own civilians as human shields. Regrettably, it uses the civilian infrastructure in Gaza, as human shields. And so you have a situation where it almost seeks to invite Israel to attack, provoke it to attack, so that it can turn public opinion around, so that it can turn the focus away from its massive atrocities and massive criminality, and so that the finger pointing will then point to Israel's response. And I think this is part of a strategy, a cruel strategy of Hamas, that it not only targets the Israeli people, and I include in that, Israeli Arabs who are caught up in those assaults, but it also engulfs its own people, the Palestinian people in Gaza, who become the innocent victims of Hamas's double war crimes. Its war crimes targeting Israel and its use of its own citizens as human shields.
Okay, Mr. Cotler, I appreciate your insights as always this evening. Thank you so much for your time.
Not at all. Good speaking with you.